Will Smith's story in baseball is one of quiet excellence, steady growth, and the kind of durability that anchors a franchise for years without ever needing to shout for attention. He is a player defined not by theatrics or ego, but by the consistency of his craft, the clarity of his preparation, and the mental discipline that allows him to rise in the biggest moments. When you look at the players who shape the narrative of a modern championship team, you find players who bring flash, players who bring swagger, players who bring generational skill, and then players like Will Smith, who bring structure, stability, leadership, and the fierce competitive heart that holds everything together. His journey is one of a student of the game who evolved into one of the most reliable catchers in Major League Baseball, a player trusted by pitchers, respected by coaches, and admired by fans who understand the importance of a catcher who does everything and asks for nothing. Will Smith was born on March 28, 1995, in Louisville, Kentucky, and those early days shaped him in ways that would later show up on the field. Louisville is a city with a rich baseball culture, a place where the game is taught with both passion and discipline. Growing up in an environment where baseball is woven deeply into local identity allowed Will to develop not only a love for the sport, but a fundamental respect for its details. He wasn't the biggest kid on the field, nor the loudest, but even then he was the kind of player who paid attention to what others overlooked. The rhythm of the pitcher's release, the bounce of a breaking ball in the dirt, the subtleties of timing a runner, the importance of being one step ahead mentally. Those instincts, though still unrefined, were the foundation of the player he would eventually become. His rise through high school baseball was marked not by overwhelming power or flashy athleticism, but by poise and precision. Coaches remember him as someone who always seemed older than his age, not in terms of physical development, but in the way he approached the game. He was a thinker, a strategist, a worker. While other players practiced to excel, Will practice to understand. Baseball wasn't simply a game, it was a puzzle. And if he devoted himself to each piece, the footwork, the release, the angles, the sequencing, he could master it. That mindset followed him to the University of Louisville, where he played under one of the most respected programs in the nation. College baseball wasn't just a proving ground for Will Smith, it was his laboratory. Louisville's program demanded intensity, versatility, and adaptability, and Will embraced all of it. He developed his defensive habits with an almost scientific precision, sharpening his receiving mechanics, improving his throwing accuracy, strengthening his blocking technique, and learning how to manage a pitching staff. Teammates saw in him a catcher who was never satisfied with being good. He wanted to be exceptional, and that desire, that hunger for refinement, transformed him from a promising young catcher into a legitimate professional prospect. When the Los Angeles Dodgers selected Will Smith in the first round of the 2016 MLB draft, they weren't just drafting a solid player, they were investing in a future leader behind the plate. The Dodgers had long valued catchers who were more than their stat lines, players who could navigate pressure, control pitchers, and stay mentally anchored even as chaos swirled around them. Will fit that mold perfectly. As he progressed through the Dodgers minor league system, his development was marked by a steady upward trajectory. He added power to his swing, began driving the ball with more authority, and paired his emerging offensive consistency with his already exceptional defensive instincts. By the time he reached the major leagues, Will Smith was ready. His debut wasn't just another prospect arriving on the scene. It was the arrival of a player perfectly built for the Dodgers' championship aspirations. His impact was immediate. He hit for power, he defended with confidence, and he handled one of the most complex pitching staffs in baseball with a calm maturity that belied his youth. His early home runs, some of them walk-off shots, weren't just exciting moments. They were proof that Will could step into pressure and thrive. Dodgers fans quickly recognized that he wasn't just a temporary option. He was part of the franchise's long-term identity. What truly defines Will Smith, however, is not his numbers, even though his offensive and defensive metrics rank among the best catchers in the game. What defines him is the way he prepares. Catching is one of the most intellectually demanding positions in sports, requiring a blend of athleticism, toughness, memory, instincts, and emotional intelligence. Will approaches every game with a plan. He studies opposing hitters with the curiosity of a detective, looking for tendencies others might miss. He works with pitchers to understand their strengths and anxieties, their rhythms and habits. He knows when to push them, when to calm them, when to adjust the game plan. And pitchers trust him, not because he is perfect, but because he is always thinking, always locked in, always committed. As the Dodgers roster evolved, Will Smith became part of their core, one of the players whose presence shaped daily expectations. He wasn't the loudest voice in the clubhouse, but he was one of its standards. He showed up prepared. He played through discomfort. He made adjustments. He never complained. When injuries struck the roster or pressure mounted in October, Will remained steady. The Dodgers could rely on him to bring clarity to high-stakes games, to handle elite pitching staffs, and to deliver big moments when needed. During postseason runs, he became known for clutch hits, timely home runs, and the kind of mental fortitude that is essential when stadiums shake with noise and the margin for error disappears. Behind the plate, his evolution is even more impressive. His framing is clean and subtle, his release efficient, his footwork precise. He blocks pitches in the dirt with instinctive confidence, turning dangerous situations into routine outs. Runners challenge him at their own risk. And yet, for all the physical skills, what stands out most is his game calling. Pitchers often speak about how he thinks ahead, how he senses when hitters adjust, how he balances analytics with feel. He has become the quiet conductor in games where momentum fluctuates wildly. Great teams need players who anchor them, and Will Smith anchors the Dodgers. Off the field, he remains grounded. There is no ego, no desire to dominate the spotlight. Teammates describe him as humble, thoughtful, hardworking, and relentlessly consistent in his habits. He doesn't crave attention, he earns respect. And that humility makes him even more admired by fans who appreciate players who work for the game rather than work to be seen. As his career continues to climb, Will Smith has begun shaping a legacy that goes beyond his statistics. He represents a different kind of star, not one built on flash, but on foundation. Not one that explodes instantly, but one that grows steadily with purpose. He embodies the idea that greatness can be quiet, that leadership can be soft-spoken, that mastery can be patient. His story is a reminder that not all iconic players announce themselves loudly. Some rise through consistency, through resilience, through dedication to the craft. Will Smith is one of those players. His future remains bright. Catchers with his blend of intelligence, durability, and offensive production are rare. He has the potential to go down as one of the greatest Dodgers catchers ever, and perhaps one of the best of his generation. But Will would never say that. He isn't thinking about legacy or career arcs. He is thinking about the next pitch, the next game, the next subtle adjustment that might give his team an edge. That is who he is. That is who he has always been. As the seasons move forward, fans continue to watch him with appreciation, knowing they are witnessing a player who may not seek the spotlight, but absolutely deserves it. Every inning he catches, every adjustment he makes, every moment he steadies his pitcher, every time he delivers in the clutch, all of it contributes to a career defined by quiet greatness. And in a sport where flash often overshadows fundamentals, Will Smith's presence is a reminder that baseball, at its heart, still rewards intelligence, discipline, and character. His story is still unfolding, but already, Will Smith stands as one of the most complete and dependable players in the league. A cornerstone of a franchise built on excellence, a catcher whose contributions run deeper than the box score, and a player whose leadership resonates far beyond the field. Thank you for joining this tribute. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the journey, heart, and rising legacy of Will Smith, a catcher who embodies quiet dominance, discipline, and the spirit of modern baseball, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more stories celebrating the athletes who shape the game with dedication and integrity.